Hello, happiness abounder, and welcome back. Today, I'm excited to chat with you about something that I think is so important and vastly overlooked when it comes to our happiness and it comes to the things that we keep on putting off in our lives. You've heard me talk about it before, but so often we're like, I should go work out, or I should do this, I should be doing XYZ. And that mentality and that shoulds, these things we keep on putting off, right? So it's not only the mentality of we should be doing something, but we're also putting these things off and continuing to shame ourselves, is something that is so relevant and prevalent across us as a society. How many people do you know are like, oh, I was going to go work out today, but I didn't. I was going to do this today, but I didn't. I should be doing this, but I'm not. And we just find ourselves putting off the things that we want or the things that we want to do in our lives. Now, this isn't a conversation about shoulds. There's a whole strategy behind that as well. I have several episodes on that. But today, I really want to dive into this concept and this idea of the mentality we have when we're putting off the things that are important to us. I think first and foremost, especially when it comes to happiness, we think it means a giant overhaul, right? You went to school, you got your degree. Maybe you didn't, but we're just going to go through the societal checklist, right? You have the house that you want. You have the family, the wonderful spouse, the great car, the good job, or the great and successful business you're striving for, or you already have those things. And so when it takes a second for us to pull back and go, am I happy? And go, well, wait a minute, maybe I'm not. Our brain immediately jumps to, but if we try to invest in our happiness, we really want it, but if we try to invest in it, you're going to lose all the things you've worked for. We think it means this big, huge overhaul, when in fact, it doesn't. It doesn't mean a complete start over. What it can mean is taking small actions every single day. That's happiness habits, folks. And building on them so you can still have all those amazing things that you worked so hard for and be happy. But we have this mentality that it's going to be this great big overhaul, or that it needs to be bigger than it is to be impactful. And what really sparked this for me, and I see this all the time, but I had a conversation with someone the other day, and they were talking about 75 hard. They were talking about how they had set themselves a strict workout and a strict diet and all of these things, and it was really hard for them to do it because 75 hard is hard. So as we were talking, I was like, well, wait a minute. It's a mental toughness challenge. So if you chose a meal plan, not saying I recommend this, but if you chose a meal plan that was eating fast food for every meal, you would have to be mentally tough to maintain that for 75 days, because that would be really hard. The other side of that, if you're having a workout where you're like, I'm going to do 100 crunches a day, and I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, and it's super rigid for 75 days, that can be hard to maintain. So when I look at things like 75 hard, which does feel, it's not, but does feel like an entire upheaval of your life, we put this parameter to it that it also needs this big shift and this huge structure, and it's going to change everything, similar to what we think our happiness needs to be. When in fact, we can start small. With 75 hard in particular, I was like, my workout is going to be walking. If I do something above and beyond walking for my 45 minutes 2 times a day, if I do something above and beyond that, fantastic. I've benefited. But if I set myself to do this crazy hard workout every single day and I feel like I can't maintain it, I've set myself up for failure because I've put that as my bare minimum, because I'm trying to have this expansive experience. But the truth is, true transformation comes from the little changes and actions we take every day. So instead of setting this huge, great, big, hard thing like a strenuous workout for 75 days straight, why not instead say my minimum is a walk for my workout? Anything above and beyond that, great. But you have a minimum standard, minimum viable product. I'm going to say MVP. I'm from the marketing world, right? So MVP, minimum viable product, that you are going out with. And anything from there is fantastic. But it does not mean a complete overhaul, a complete upheaval, a complete change of everything for you to be happy, or for you to complete 75 hard, or for you to achieve and get your goals. But we tend to want to. We feel like it has to be this great big change for it to have meaning and purpose. And the double-edged sword of that is that when we attach that much expectation, and we can't maintain it because we've set ourselves up for failure with that mindset, then we do in fact feel like failures and feel like maybe I'm not meant to be happy. Maybe I just don't have what it takes to finish something like 75 hard. Now, 75 hard is an example. I'm not saying you need to do 75 hard to be happy. Your unique happiness is your unique happiness. And when I work with my clients, we figure out what that means for them. But today I want you to take away this idea and this thought that it's the small things, the small pivots, the small changes that can make the biggest impact. And when we attach this expectation that everything needs to be huge and needs to be this great big thing and our whole life is getting turned around, that's when we set ourselves up for failure. It's the small steps, the small actions every single day that do make the big transformations. And I think as a society, we popularize this idea that you have to change your whole life. And the example that comes to my mind is Eat, Pray, Love, right? She walked away. She walked away from her husband, her job, like all of these things, and took a trip around the world. And she discovered the meaning of her life, the purpose and happiness for herself. And we latch on to those types of stories, those anomalies, because they're romanticized, they're popular, they're pretty. Oh, wouldn't I just love, I'm unhappy, so wouldn't I just love to let it all go and go do something else for a year to figure out my life? Sure, you can do that, but you also can keep your family, can keep your wife if it's a healthy relationship, of course. You can keep your job if it's something you really like doing. You can keep the degree you've earned. You can have the house, you can have the car, you can have the money. You can have all of these things that you've worked so hard for and still find happiness. Romanticize the little changes that help you discover your happiness every single day, because the big upheavals are few and far between. Now, that said, a big upheaval over a period of time made with small changes is transformative. I'm not saying that that's not possible. That is 1,000% possible. But what I am saying is, let's stop romanticizing the big sweeping gestures towards our happiness and ruining everything we've worked so hard for to find it, and instead find happiness in our life that we have now, so that we're equipped to make better decisions about what we want our life to be. And that means looking at those things that we've put off and looking at those things that we've romanticized and said, I need something big, a huge change to make this happen, and actually looking at the small habits, the little things instead that you can do. Instead of putting off that workout that is the 100 crunches and the 10 pull-ups and running 6 miles every day, instead, why don't we just move towards walking for 45 minutes? Bring it down to a level where you can actually make the changes. And I know some of you, if I heard me say this a few years ago, I probably would have been like, she doesn't know what she's talking about. I'm an overachiever. I get stuff done. I do the hard things. Sure. I would have been really upset at someone telling me to slow down, don't have it be a huge sweeping thing, and to focus on my small habits instead. But I've seen what works. I spent years beating myself up and putting off the things I knew I wanted because I felt like it had to be this great big sweeping gesture, this huge transformation all in one go. And when I didn't make it, because I'd set myself up for failure mentally, emotionally, and physically, then I felt like I was worthless and like I couldn't be happy. So I've been there. And if you're thinking those things and you're still listening, I just want you to take a second and think about, okay, well, what if I just changed one small thing? Maybe it's listing a success you have every single day. Now the overachievers in you will be like, I'm going to list 10. I'm going to list 10 things every single day that I did successfully. And then the first day where you forget to do 10 or you forget to do it entirely, you're going to throw it away and say it didn't work. But in fact, if you just focus on one and track it every single day, you eventually will build the evidence that you are successful, you'll feel capable, you'll feel qualified, you'll feel confident, and you'll be able to conquer anything that comes your way. But it can take small changes to do that. Because I'm going to wager a bet you have a good life. Which is why you're listening to this show, to this episode. You have a good life, but you feel unfulfilled and you feel unhappy. So when you try to make these sweeping gestures, these great big changes, and they don't work out, it just feeds that more. So I want to encourage you to look at the little things, the little changes that you can make in your life instead. And if you need help with that, please reach out to me. That is what I do. As a transformational happiness mentor, I work with people who have all these amazing things in their life, but still feel unfulfilled and unhappy. And we work together to find out what happiness means for you and what habits and routines we can put into place to equip you to feel happiness every single day. And those small little changes lead to a full, fulfilled, purposeful, and happy life. So if you're like, I don't know what changes to make, or I don't have enough information, or I don't even have enough time, whatever those excuses are, just reach out. Let's work on it together. Because I promise you can find happiness. And I promise that you are capable of happiness abound.